Live from Cool Boys Central.
You're the boss now, man. I'm boss up here.
From bat tips to bat nips, we are just cool boys revisiting Batman, the animated series, and wearing hats. This is Batman and Beyond, a Cool Boys podcast.
I see Batman and Beyond.
Greetings, Cool Boy Nation.
Woo!
And welcome
I like the how.
to another installment of Batman and Beyond, a Cool Boys podcast. I'm Batman Ballard.
And I'm the Wolfman Steve.
I think he's the werewolf in this.
Oh, whatever. Yeah, oh man, that guitar is like so 90s. Like, let's throw in some badass guitar real quick. And they just like threw it in everywhere.
Oh yeah, it's the opening title card. It's like every time the werewolf steps on into the shot, it's absolutely.
It reminded me of like one of the short films you guys made in college that like had like the free you took some like guitar riffs that were like badass guitar riffs or something,
Yeah. What was it?
Like the Guerrilla Shorts or something.
Oh yeah, was it the Guerrilla Warfare maybe? Yeah.
I don't know. It's just one of those like
Tonight's episode is, if we've not tipped our hat already enough, is Moon of the Wolf. It's directed by Dick Seabass and written by Len Wein. What? Len Wein, Steve, by the way, just so you know, if you don't know, is the co-creator of Swamp Thing and Wolverine.
Ooh.
That's right. Swamp Thing is DC. Wolverine, of course, is Marvel. He's also, I think, co-created like Nightcrawler. He also like co-created Storm and Colossus. But yeah, he was fucking super influential in the 80s, right? I mean, practically 80s comics. I mean, he was huge. Len Wein, still huge. So he wrote this episode. It's fucking badass.
Pretty cool.
This episode came out November 11th, 1992. And the villains this week are the Werewolf and Professor Milo. Or is it Milo? I don't know.
I always go with Milo, but Milo kind of sounds like it would work.
Yeah, Milo, right? It's a last
He seems
name.
kind of like Romanian.
Maybe Milo's with an S at the end, and that's why it's not that. Maybe it's Milo. Let's go with Milo.
So this episode is actually based on his comic.
You're right, Steve. As Wikipedia notes, this is based on the comic story of the same name by writer Len Wein, with art by, as we've mentioned earlier in episodes, the amazing Batman artist Neil Adams, from Batman number 255 from April 1974. Steve, Wikipedia says, Batman investigates the appearance of a werewolf-like creature in Gotham, not realizing that the monster happens to be one of Bruce Wayne's associates, Anthony Romulus, an ex-Olympic champion. Behind the scheme is twisted chemist Professor Milo.
So yeah, I thought this episode compared to Tiger, I like this one better as a supernatural sort of episode, and I think it's because it's not the classic story. It's not a werewolf where it's controlled really by the moon. It's like a guy taking advantage of a person, and he's become a werewolf. Mm-hmm. And I like how it brings back, an old villain, or not an old villain, but someone from a previous episode, Dr. Milo. And I guess he comes back again later on. So he's like kind of...
Yeah, Justice League.
He's just like a go-to geneticist villain or something like that. But he's kind of an idiot in this episode. I also thought, like, how he's just like egging on this werewolf because he thinks that he can control him or something. But I liked it. This one was fun.
Yeah, he takes the reins more in this episode as a villain. And the last time we saw him with Cat Scratch Fever, he's just working for Roland Daggett and just doing Daggett's bidding, which is, make 10% of the strays have this toxin in them, and then, people get sick or whatever, and then I have the cure. This episode, this guy's kind of Milo, Professor Milo's a little bit more, actually, like, being a dick to people and actually being, like, and, like, attacking this other man, Anthony Romulus, by essentially setting him up to, need a drug and need a fix.
And what exactly is his end game? What was his purpose?
Milo's in this?
Yeah.
I think it's just essentially be a drug dealer. I mean, realistically,
he was
I don't think he had anything other than that. Like, at least anything that we knew about.
It starts off where he's trying to kill the security guard who sold him the werewolves.
Steve, hang on. Let's talk about that. This is
Okay.
Zoo Night Watchman. We are seen again from after seeing him in Tiger.
You're
This
right.
guy has been getting fucked with by a fucking giant ape man named Garth, and then attacked by a werewolf like a week later. Or 5 weeks later, excuse me. 5 weeks later. Pretty fucking shitty life, huh?
You know what I find that's really funny also as well? That is a really good point. It's like so random, this poor guy. But
Oh, and then also, did you notice that we had Selena Kyle just strolling through the zoo after hours in Tiger? We also have a random lady jogger after hours jogging through the zoo. What is this? What's going on with the zoo after hours? What's going on there?
I think it's like one of these park zoos where it's like in the middle of a park is a zoo.
Oh, like a Central Park one.
Yeah, that's how I pictured it.
Gotcha.
What I thought was really funny was that Batman thinks that this was a guy in a mask, in a werewolf mask, like.
Oh yeah,
when it's clearly like, and he's just dealt with other supernatural, werewolf type of characters, and he's like, there was a guy in a mask, a werewolf mask, who was attacking somebody at the zoo. It's like, no,
not
Batman.
somebody. John Hamner, the Zoo Night Watchman.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty ridiculous. Come on, Batman, be a little bit smarter.
I thought it was ridiculous they gave this fucking Zoo Night Watchman a name, John Hamner. What? This guy doesn't require a name at all.
Well, he appears in 2 episodes. I think at that point they must have, the guy who did the voice probably got extra money for that. They're like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah, might as well do it. Yeah, we do, but we do see, like, the werewolf attack this Night Watchman, right, and throw his dog, like, super fucking far.
I know, that was scary. I watched this with my daughter, and my daughter's 4. And I was like, okay, maybe this isn't the best episode to watch with.
That's not funny, Steve.
Well,
I'm just kidding. That's pretty funny. And your daughter's adorable, and I'm sure she's fine and loves it. But.
Oh man, she was so excited to watch Batman. I was like, "You want to watch Batman?" She's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "I'm gonna bring my Frozen dolls with me because they love watching Batman too."
Oh, of course, Elsa and Anna, they love Batman. Mm-hmm.
And then we all sat around watching Batman, and while we watched it, she just looked kind of scared. I was like, this is probably not the best episode to be watching.
Right.
Yeah.
The horror themed episode, right. Maybe not the best
But,
one.
that's what Batman fights.
I mean, the werewolf design is absolutely horrifying. It's fantastic, but it's horrifying.
What are good episodes to watch with your 4-year-old daughter from Batman the Animated Series?
Yeah, it's fun. Christmas of the Joker's a pretty good one, honestly.
Yeah, maybe.
That's a good one, and that's one I've shown my kids just recently. Also, Holiday Nights isn't a bad one either, just because it's the holiday season right now as we're recording this. During this fight with Batman's and the werewolf in the beginning of this episode, did you feel like the werewolf was very similar to the Man-Bat design?
I did. I also felt like that this all reminded me of Man-Bat. Like it kind of seemed like Man-Bat was so early in the series that
Well, yeah, first episode.
That they suddenly are going back to this kind of well of people being transformed, humans being transformed or not being able to control it. But I like it,
Right. I mean, it's the supernatural side of Batman, right? Man-Bat, Clayface, Tigress, and now the werewolf.
And so once again, I was trying to piece together kind of like what Milo's whole scheme in this thing is. And he's just basically kind of taken advantage. Like, so Romulus just talks to the scientist because he's like wants him to make him a steroid so that he passes some sort of Olympics type of thing, and he does. But the steroid then, like 6 months later or 8 months later, suddenly transforms him into a werewolf. Is that the thing? And he's like, now I need the cure.
Because he stopped taking the whatever it was, the supplement that kept everything at bay, right?
Yeah, and because he attacked Milo because he was like, I'm too good for you.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that point in the episode, and we can rewatch that and see if there's any clues. But right now we're watching Professor Milo and Anthony Romulus, reveal essentially that Romulus is the werewolf, which is a pretty cool reveal. You see who the werewolf is before you're introduced to the character. Then you're introduced to the character during a workout session, a fucking mega hot workout session, Steve, with a super babe trainer that has no name. And Tony and Bruce are just working out so fucking hard together, and it's like super sexy and super like 80s feeling, like everyone's just moving their bodies and shoulders are super being worked on, and abs and tries and fucking thighs, glutes.
You felt it? You liked it?
I was fucking thrusting.
Who do you think was bigger? Was Bruce or Romulus?
No one's bigger than Bruce. Bruce has got a huge dick, Steve.
You know what I like is when they cut later to Batman like kind of sitting all like kind of like a nonchalantly in his chair. He has like one leg up and he's like watching TV.
Oh, when he's watching the nature documentary on timberwolves, on Alaskan timberwolves.
He kind of he's like really relaxing while watching it in the bat suit.
And Alfred's working on the Batmobile in the background.
Yeah, in the background he's just this mechanic, and then Batman kind of Surly goes and cops in the Batmobile and drives off, and you see Alfred kind of grumble. He's like, "Oh, you should have said thank you."
Thanks for nothing.
I like when they throw in those little little tidbits that they show that Batman is this. He's a dick, like it's just
Bruce
like
is a dick.
He's like not. He doesn't say thank you to Alfred, who's just fixed up the car. He doesn't say thank you to Dick. He's just this pompous a-hole.
Doesn't give Dick credit either in episodes where Dick should have been given credit.
He keeps Dick's his belt, his karate belt, like 5 belts lower than his, even though he's able to save him and fight against this ninja that's sometimes bested him.
Oh man, Batman!
I'm riled up. Batman's a dick.
Woo! Don't get Steve riled up.
I'm riled up.
Well,
I'm gonna get up on my soapbox real quick.
Good. You should. Hey, Steve. Earlier, there was a newspaper article that Anthony Romulus and Professor Milo were looking at, and it had a photo of Batman, right? And it was like in a whole article about how he stopped this like bank robbery or something, and it says in it, I noticed this, amateur photographer Bruce Timm.
I saw that note myself as well.
Yeah, you like that? I actually noticed that in the episode. You saw that note? What do you mean? We don't share notes.
Oh, I saw a note about it.
You did? Are you researching these episodes?
Yeah.
You should say that. You should let us know. I love it when you're doing the researching. What
I've said other notes.
What other notes? What other notes you got? I gotta tell you. Here's a note that you couldn't have researched. When Batman says masquerade party's over, Harry, I had to look that up because I thought he said the rave party's over, Harry. I'm like, the rave party? What the fuck's the rave party?
Oh, I have that note too.
Oh shit! Really? The rave
no, so
party?
I have another good note. You want to hear this note? The name of Romulus and Milo's hideout is Seabass Construction.
I noticed that. Yes, Seabass Construction.
Of the episode director's Dick Seabass.
That's right. I actually yelled that out watching it with my wife. I was like, Seabass! And I don't think she had any clue what the fuck, like what that meant. But I was just like, oh, Dick Seabass. Yeah, this is a great episode. I really had a fun time watching it, and I love that you have this great cliffhanger act break where Batman has been poisoned. But Steve, I have a question for you. Right? Batman's poisoned by the air, by breathing the air, and what would have saved him is a drink. Right? They offer him a drink when he first shows up. Do you want a drink? Batman turns it down.
Yeah.
What was their plan if Batman took the drink and it gave him the antidote to the gas they're about to gas him with?
I don't know. It didn't make a lot of sense. I thought the same thing. But I think they just assumed that like Batman would be suspicious of a drink, and so he'd be like, "No, I'm not gonna take one." So I think it was just a guess. I think they were just like pretty good on Batman being
Professor
paranoid.
Milo's just 2 steps ahead.
Uh-huh.
Nice move. That's a pretty nice move. Nice little chess move there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now we're in the flashback sequence.
Yeah,
where we
find
see
out.
Anthony, Tony, Romulus. You know how he got his.
He's huge.
skills.
He kind of looks like The Rock.
He does a little bit, yeah, like with better hair. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it looks like The Rock. And he's given, this serum by Professor Milo that's derived from steroids and wolf estrogen.
No, that's all it needs, and that pass muster. That for whatever reason you throw in that wolf estrogen and it doesn't get in there.
It passes every test.
Yeah,
Well, during this sequence of flashbacks and all that shit, we have multiple transformation sequences. We have transformations to like half wolf, transformations to full wolf, transformations out of wolf, transformations into werewolf again. It is gorgeous, and it's way better than the Man-Bat transformations, I thought.
Oh yeah, they definitely have more money, or they've put more time into it.
More time, maybe, yeah, because On Leather Wings may have been slightly rushed because of it being the first in production order. But yeah, it's gorgeous, and it's scary shit. Like, it's really scary looking shit.
Yeah. What's so stupid though is later on, or maybe right now in the episode when he turns, when he turns back to the werewolf, and Milo's just standing in the same vicinity of him, and he doesn't think he's gonna get harmed. Like, what an idiot! I don't know. It didn't make any sense.
Milo doesn't make much sense as a character. I'm surprised that they brought him back again for the series. I do remember him in Justice League, but I did not remember him again in this series. And I really don't remember this episode much outside of maybe the first time I saw it released, and then any reruns of it.
Yeah, this wasn't one that I had seen multiple times either. I thought this was also funny when later on when Bullock is kind of, in the outskirts and investigating things, and they have the big showdown at the end, and Bullock is just kind of like, nah, let's just let them fight it out. Let's Batman fight this fight on his own.
Mm-hmm.
He's a dick.
He is. I mean, he also holds the security guard up against the Alaskan Timberwolves cage,
Mm-hmm.
with them snarling and biting right behind him at John Hamner, the security guard.
This poor guy.
Absolutely. Steve, quick question. Can Bullock do that type of shit as an officer and get away with it?
Probably not. Dun-dun.
Oh, he did it.
But wait, oh yeah, he's a criminal though. Yeah.
John Hamner is a criminal? He does take him in. Okay, criminals can be beaten up. That's right.
I think there's a little bit more of questioning that he's allowed to do,
Leeway in the
It's not like he's a
questioning.
witness of something. At first I thought that Hamner was a witness of the crime, and he was throwing him against, tell me what you saw, that'd be a little much, but I guess when he's investigating a crime and the guy's lying to him.
That's kind of, though, what was going on until he confessed. I mean, if he never confessed, it would have been him just attacking a witness.
I think he knew.
He had gut instincts, and he went with
Didn't he
them.
throw out some facts? Bullock was like, you...
He said
your
the
bank
cages
account.
had been broken into, so
And
what
I
would
checked
lead me
out
to
your
believe
bank
is-
account or something like that, and he got it. He
Oh,
was saying that
oof.
his money, he got a bunch of money or something like that.
Yeah, where'd you get all this money from? Huh? Where'd you get all fancy all of a sudden? Huh?
Well, you
get all
put two and
fancy?
two together,
You know what'd be great is if the security guard in earlier scenes didn't have any Rolexes, and in the next scenes he had Rolexes
He has,
and
like, a
maybe
gold
some gold
bag.
chains.
That'd be funny.
That would be. We're moving into Act 3 right now, and let me just be real simple here. Act 3 of this fucking episode is the best. It is all of the Act 3 is the Batman versus the werewolf.
It is.
You have a werewolf get beaten with 4x4s. 4x4s. Huge 4x4s, right? He breaks them, no problem. He gets brained on a steel beam when Batman jumps out of the way. The werewolf literally throws his head into a steel beam. Gets out of it, no problem, right? Has a whole fucking wooden shack fall on him. No problem. This is awesome. This is the most unstoppable fucking werewolf ever.
Yep. It's good stuff.
It is. It's so good.
I just kind of want to watch it again.
Aw, and we're just gonna be quiet now, Cool Boy Nation, for the next 4 minutes while we enjoy this third act.
I like the setting. It's totally. I like how later on in the episode they're totally duking it out, and there's just like this couple that are like strolling by, and they're just like, "Oh, let's call 911 or whatever." Right here.
Yep.
But yeah, it was good. I like it. She's like, ignore it. He's like, no, let's check it out. I totally would have been ignoring it too. It just ran.
Yeah, fuck that. I've seen enough horror movies. Don't go investigating. Fuck it. So yeah, gorgeous final shot of this episode after we find out, Romulus is gone missing. His house is up for auction.
It's a nice coda. I like that sweet little coda. Yeah, and just having the whole like his stuff being sold and someone else moving in and being like, whatever happened to him? And I thought that was well done.
Mm-hmm. How
Very
did he die, though,
cinematic.
Steve?
I forget. Did he die?
He's swinging on the wrecking ball that Batman slams into him and then gets hit with a lightning bolt and then falls into the river.
That's hardcore.
And they're like, he's dead. Honestly, when I watched that, I was like, watching it back right now this time, I was like, he's dead. He's so fucking dead. Like, you don't live that. He's dead. But nope, he's alive. He's howling at the moon. Yeah, that shot is so reminiscent also of Tiger's final shot. Like the moon, and then I think Tigress is staring up at the moon, and this one, Romulus as the werewolf, is howling at the moon.
You gotta throw that in. That's why it's okay for my 4-year-old daughter to watch this.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, the werewolf is still lurching around. The werewolf is still around, able to attack
Don't
her
worry,
in her
Lydia.
sleep.
He didn't die.
Yeah, it could still, while you're sleeping at night, this fucking gray werewolf can hop through the window and tear this house up.
I know.
I was always scared as a child of werewolves and vampires and Dracula specifically attacking me in my sleep.
Yeah, I was scared of monsters too, and she keeps telling me that she's scared of monsters, and I'm like, there's no such thing as monsters.
Yeah, well, see, this is what I thought as a kid. I had my bed in the up against the wall, like a corner, right? So I had like two walls on two sides of it. Then I had like a bookshelf on the foot of it. So I kind of had like every end of it was blocked up, and I was at the bottom of a bunk bed. So I was protected everywhere but one angle. So I figured as long as I kept everything, my back to everything to it, and I kept the sheets all the way up to my neck, Dracula couldn't actually get to my neck, and I was fine.
You know what I would do is to check and see if my house was haunted before I go to sleep, is I would knock on the wall. And
oh my God, fuck you. What if it knocked back?
If it knocked back, I would be like, oh shit, let's get out.
Don't ever do that. You don't know who's going to knock. What if your brother just knocked back one night and you're like, fuck?
He did one time. He scared me. But it
No,
wasn't
he
the same
didn't.
wall. It was, I could tell that he was knocking. 'Cause I was knocking on the walls that weren't, but we shared a wall. So I
Fuck that. I would never do something like knocking just to see, like, if I knock and something knocks back, I'm less scared now. Like, I'd be
it was
like,
more just to confirm that there wasn't anything there. But yeah, if something did knock back, then I would like run into my parents room and be like, something knocked back. What
dude,
the
and then what
fuck?
happens? Essentially, the movie Poltergeist plays
Something,
out, right?
yeah,
after a while.
But you got to start from somewhere.
Well, what are your boys for this episode?
I'd give this one, about 5 boys.
5 out of 5 boys?
This was a good one. I liked it.
Yep. I agree. 5 out of 5 boys, and this was a great one. This was incredibly cinematic. I really like Tiger more than you, but this one I think did a better job at hitting all the marks of making it cinematic, self-contained story.
Agreed.
And it's also a 5 out of 5 for me.
And it wasn't just like ripping off of another story. So
I like that. See, I do enjoy that. I do enjoy that.
I think that just has to, if it does it, I don't know, for whatever reason, I just felt like that was just kind of ripping off and not acknowledging it. It was like the Tiger was not acknowledging that it was a Island of Dr. Moreau. Maybe it was, but I felt like it didn't do it as well. Where they had other episodes like Beware the Grey Ghost, and that's totally acknowledging that it's within this whole sort of world of superheroes, and it acknowledges like Adam West and being like a burned out actor and all that sort of stuff, and they do that well. So that one just didn't do it right to me.
Yeah, fair, absolutely. And all great points, and they all totally make sense. They really do. I guess I'm a sucker for cat people, and honestly ripping off of old stories, old pop culture, and old literature and things like that. I always kind of enjoy that.
They should do a Gulliver's Travels Batman.
They should. That would be fucking weird as fuck. You come across an island of little people, and then like an island of horses or whatever, a kingdom of horses.
All right, great stuff.
Steve's wrapping this one up, folks. Great stuff. Cool Boy Nation. Tune in next week. Same Cool Bat time. Same Cool Bat channel. Cool Boy Bat Nation. Be sure to let us bat know what you bat thought of Moon of the Wolf, or what your favorite bat episode is by bat emailing us at batmanandbeyondcoolboys@gmail.com. New episodes come out every Tuesday. Also, please check out our other great Cool Boy Central content with the Cool Boys podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, and Patreon. Be sure to like and subscribe to the Cool Boys. Also, review us on iTunes. You can donate to us on Patreon. It only costs $1, and you will receive special access to content too hot to air. You can find the Cool Boys on Patreon at www.patreon.com/coolboyspodcast. Thank you for listening. Stay cool, Cool Boy Bat Nation. Until next time, it's Byzies from Batman Ballard.
And that's Bat Byzies from the Wolfman Steve.
So cool.
Batman
And beyond.
Oh yeah.
Batman
and beyond.